Hi, Gemini. I feel like I waited a while to do your reading and Sagittarius' readings. And this month I want to do the air and fire signs first. So, happy Leo season. Cancer season was a mixture of many things. And Leo season is going to be a place to both embrace and places that get seen, and then the places that are hidden. The Aquarius full moon will shed light to the places that are seen, the places that are being fulfilled, and the places that you feel like you can receive more fulfillment somewhere else. You understand what it's like to change. And so you may have thought at one point that you knew exactly what you wanted. You knew what the Ten of Cups looked like to you in terms of, this is what I want for my life. This is how I see it. And we all do that to an extent. The way you do it, you allow changes and you allow for a space for changes and different things to move and change. But there's been something that has been and remained the same for the most part with you. And that's, you need to be able to change and allow yourself change, and allow yourself a partner who also allows that. Allow yourself whatever that looks like for you in that family. That no matter what we both know is that the way we start won't be the way that we end. The way that we start won't be the same way of what we're going through. You're not going to always get the same me. What you can rely on is that I'll be there and I'll show up and I'll be myself with you. And that's like one of the most beautiful things about Gemini. And it's like, in this season, now you get to do that. Sorry, I've been shaking this so much. You get to do that, but it's on your own terms in a different way. You've seen the places, or you're going to be exposed to the places, or places that you've seen in yourself but also need a little bit more attention. This is the parts of you where you get stubborn. So Leo season, it's the stubborn in all of us. It's where we rise to the occasion, and then where we fall short. So, and that is very relative. So for you, knowing that you want the Ten of Cups, knowing that this Empress energy is also where you want to be, yet also knowing that staying there in the same way, in a different situation, may not work. What do I mean by that? The way you show up to how you want your life to look, and the plan that you have for yourself, the vision that you have for yourself, that's a different kind of interaction with the universe and with life. There are very much like sub interactions with that as well, or nuances rather. So now this is like you showing up to your physical life. If that's what you want, then you need to allow yourself the grievance process, or to acknowledge the things that lay dormant, or without getting the proper attention to like kind of finally, I didn't even realize these cards were coming. These fell with the other ones. To die, to like sincerely shift and change, is not just to start something new because you're bored. And this is for every air sign, and sometimes fire signs as well. But for you, mainly because you know that's like knowledge is power. You know how to gain power. You know how to become smarter. You know how to change. You know how to evolve. But here's the other part of it, that there's, when you're changing certain portions, like let's say the outer planets, their workings are longer. They're the long-term thing. So you can consistently be changing jobs, but at the core value, you're looking for something that's in alignment with your values, at least right now, and what you can actually attain. And then you can go to like how much you're being paid, all of that stuff. So essentially, what may be weighing on why things aren't happening as quickly or why certain things aren't changing is because there's this part of you that needs to acknowledge, like, yes, this Empress energy is really important, this Taurus energy, but the stubbornness about the Taurus energy, and if there is a Taurus in your life that's really strong, is that Taurus can be in that grieving process and not fully say how they feel, especially if they're helping other people in that process. So they need their own space to themselves where they feel safe and comfortable to feel weightless, to feel like it's okay to crumble. It's that fixed earth energy. And now we're in fixed fire, where whatever you're burning and whatever you're letting loose, letting go of, whatever you are burning and whatever you are walking away from, there's a purpose to it. There's this underlying, I may speak in a way that's not the most mature to the most mature ears, but the way I speak and the way I handle how I do things makes sense to me. So that's taking that like these different sides of you together and allowing whatever has been wanting to die to not just sit there and rot and stink up the place. It's more of like it's going through the final shift where you're letting it go. So now the rebirth, the end, Scorpio, the other side of things, this rebirth for you through this specific thing for yourself in Leo season is like you come out with even more fire than you came in with. So it's a true moment of you in the past couple months really leaving behind certain situations that were once super fulfilling. They were once, especially in terms of like relationships, friendships, even work, it was very vulnerable for you, but you were like, I have to go out on a limb here and say like, this just isn't the same thing. And I'm going to express that. And no matter what happens, I just like know that's going to be what I need it to be. And Gemini is okay with leaving and like, and shifting and changing dynamics. It's just, they love because they accept people for who they are. So it's hard when you have such an accepting sign of different places, when that sign decides to up level and change and shift and add even more value to their already existing just aura, it can cause like rifts in ways that really hurt you, Gemini, because you don't want to do that. But then you realize like, you know what though, it's just not worth this time and energy. I thought it was something, or it just shifted, or you change, and that's perfect, because the eclipse is running through your signs, is going to ask you to keep asking you these questions along the next 6 months, because this is where the shift is changing. And this bad habit that you notice in yourself where you let something lay and rot and smell, meaning like it just sinks into other parts of your life without you even inviting it in, it just gets through the cracks. You then realize like, oh, this was the root to everything. It's you just being able to be like, yo, like this just isn't working anymore. Like, this isn't what I want out of this. Isn't what I want out of that. And you've been doing that for a while. Now you're like at this place where you're like, okay, I feel more confident about it, but there's still something that's like not leaving. There's still something I feel like that's even like attached, or you feel like sticky, or there's something that's not letting go. Like there's just this small little thing. And by the end of the month, you'll understand what it is. It'll become very clear. It'll make itself known. Uranus and Taurus, okay. I just want to see if this related to anything. But if you have any Tauruses in your life, some of you are maybe even grieving that relationship or acknowledging certain parts of that relationship that once were there and now are not. It's just a very much time where you're seeing certain things really come together and close. Where the way you normally work are like, okay, it's closed, gotta go, bye. But there's certain things that have lingered for a while. Even just your feelings that you didn't know and they just came out of nowhere in Cancer season. Now Leo season's like, okay, let's just look at these. You're still gonna have, like, this season's still gonna be great for you, but like what you wanna do, how you wanna do it. But there's this like little piece that's Leo season's like, this is what you need to see and what's shining for you. This is what you need to be aware of this month. It might come out in different exchanges, conversations, meetings. It might come through in, or whatever you do. It's that little nuance that you'll notice. And it's about you and what you want. So this month, as much as it is external, where you will be out there, like 8 of Cups, 10 of Cups, 6 of Swords, like you're out in the world. And you're just noticing this certain nuance where the world is interacting with you because it's playing this certain feeling that you can't seem to grasp or haven't been able to. And this month, you get to not only see it for what it is, but even move out of it. Let's get one more. Yeah. It was just something that was really lodged in there. It's just something that really goes into a part of you that, yes, again, you're the sign known for being adaptable and changing and shifting, but there's also something with that. You still have to say, okay, well, is it because you feel stuck, or is there something that you're not wanting to sit with long enough? So the 5 of Pentacles says, like, this is a long-term thing that's been happening, this stuckness. So this flame and the energy that you'll receive from letting this fully be what it was and what it is, and it could be a couple situations throughout your life or even people, that by the end of the month, so Leo at the bottom of the deck, a Strength card, you're not only going to feel stronger, like even stronger physically by the end of the month, just by moving through this emotionally. You're going to gain so much energy because you're allowing the flames to start inside and just like move outside of yourself. So it's a very subtle yet powerful shift that's happening with you this month. And it's a result of where the eclipses have started, and then the movements in Virgo. So Virgo being that like kind of, you know, sibling sign where you're both ruled by Mercury. So Virgo's like really coming inside in your internal workings and moving like with you and moving those places. And then Leo's like just giving it that extra love that it needs externally, because you'll find that through this vulnerability and really being like doing and saying what you need and what you've wanted, and making these decisions, and you know, constantly running into this thing, and that just won't seem to go away. It's like, okay, finally you're in this place where, okay, this is where I want to leave it, because Virgo season will be that much more refreshing for you. Okay, so we'll look at the cards, Gemini. I should start putting this in the beginning, and I will, but there will be a link to donate to the channel if you feel like this has been helpful for you. I do extended readings where we go into this general reading even more on Patreon, where I ask more questions, we go through more of the deck, and there will be more other options to work with me on Patreon, as well as my link for my website is below to work with me one-on-one to do a personal reading. And yeah, that's it. Okay. Thank you so much. Gemini, this is your Leo season extended reading, and I'll see you next month. Oh, and in the next part, we'll look at the cards. Hi, Gemini. So, it's been a couple days since I did the first part, and I will say that I can see this in a way that I feel like makes more sense. So, whatever you've chosen and what you've been choosing to consistently walk away from, because you feel like it's one thing after another sometimes, depending, and it's just the same situation or same feeling that keeps coming up. Excuse me. And so it's because, and that's exactly, it's interesting because the 8 to the 10 is like, the 9 is like that waiting period. It's just that contentness of like, this is great, and then there can be better. The jump from the 8 to the 10 is from knowing and trusting a faith that things can be better, and it takes vulnerability, it takes courage, which is linked together. It takes you sitting in the Empress seat and deciding that's what you want. And then when you have that figured out, that's beautiful. The part that comes after that, though, is the working out the faith. So grieving what you once had, knowing that it was good, but it clearly wasn't measuring up to what you're wanting in the situation you want for your life. Because this is very much like you looking at your life, seeing where you are, seeing where you want to go. And Leo season is saying, hey, like, you get that you can have this. It feels really easy at first. It feels very clear. And then it's all about, well, what is needed to be spoken to? So these two cards are back to back. What do you need to face in order to get through this part where then the rebirth by the end of the season comes through? So the beginning of this month is very much, this whole month is extremely extroverted, or extremely introverted. But the introvert-extrovert part of it is really cool, and I want to kind of talk to you about that. So this is a very external thing, the top row, which we talked about here, even though it's a very introverted thing, because it's you thinking about what you want for your life and what you're willing to do and what you're willing to go for and what you're willing to come up against, which are the waters, navigating the mystery of the water and setting sail, knowing that these thoughts and these feelings and what you want are going to align, having the faith, understanding, and just understanding as the Empress that when you nourish that very Cancerian fertile soil, when you know something's fertile, because in the Empress card, she is fertile. She is with child, actually. So knowing what you have to go through that process is very introverted here. But the way it shows up extrovert is you needing to communicate and face yourself in these ways of, these are the seeds being planted. So the grievance here helps the seeds grow and this new time come about. Because otherwise, if not spoken to, that twin just lays dormant. And you sometimes operate so heavily out of one part of yourself that you know that there's this other side that sometimes you can forget about, and sometimes to the point of neglect. Like, I'm not saying that you neglect yourself, but with air signs, it's tough sometimes because we don't know when we're doing it. It's very, very much an air sign quality. But there's this part of you that is so, there's this undertone that Leo season comes through you and brings this like deeper sense of compassion, this deeper sense of strength within yourself, that by the end of the season, whatever had been stuck for a while and that you've been working through for a while, and you just feel like, okay, I know I'm an air sign and I feel light, but there's a feeling I haven't felt yet. And you don't know it until the end of the season when you feel it, and you feel that strength and you feel that all come together, and you feel very valued. You find yourself being very, valuing yourself in a way that feels different. You come to a place in your life where you've actually never been before, and it feels different. you know that this is possible, but there's such a grounding experience in Leo season for you where things open up, certain things that you haven't like bore witness to in the ways that have been needing and maybe even yearning for and for a while are now being spoken to, and Leo season gives you the courage to do so. There could be a Leo in your life who also helps you through it and makes you realize like, hey man, like you've been actually stuck here for a minute. Like there's something that's changing and they're there for it. They're there and present and willing to see you through this. And if there's a Scorpio in your life, they may be in the same place as you. So just acknowledging that, even if they're not saying it outright. I do, however, just think this is your process, and how very simple this is, yet it's not. Because for you, you know this. This is not something you don't know. It's just like now you have to confront it because you want these things. So now you must confront these things. And some of you, it's about this part of you that just needs to be heard and seen and witnessed in a way that is super vulnerable, super immature feeling, which is Gemini. There's that immaturity, the kid, that toddler, or like right after the toddler, where you think you know everything, and you definitely do, but you also need to allow yourself that space to grow and be nurtured. And now Leo season is that time, and you'll find that you'll just like be out hanging out with people too, and you might have like really amazing conversations with people where this all gets transformed through even. So it could be Leo season that's holding you in the space where you find yourself in the places where you actually need to be in order to move through all of this. So that could be your experience for some of you, that you just do it through the life that you're leading. And that's very Gemini as well. So in the beginning, if it felt separate, it's just like through this lens that you're now becoming aware of. And I don't just think it's brilliant. And I know that for you, it's going to be quite a month. So I love you very much. Thank you for watching, supporting. All the information is below. I believe I said in the first part, but if not, information to work with me one-on-one is below. You can also donate to the channel. Extended clarification of these cards will go up in the extended reading, which will be on Patreon, and other options will be there to work with me as well in the future. And yeah, thank you so much. See you next month.